Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. We are still growing. If you haven't had Captain Davies smash that subscribe button, go ahead and have her smash it right now. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the following patrons: Nathan, Scott, Mika Boy, Ramon, Lead with Love, Johnny, Charles, Albert 12, Soulstar LA, My Tocayo Hector, Coach Ken, Miguel L, AI Vega, Theo, Claudia, John Wick, Marshall, Esquiel, Miguel, Lead Our Actions, Lead Others to Christ, Big Bad 48, Nova, Jack, Linda, Michigan Wolverines, Marius, Chavel 66, Gigi, Abuelita's Journey, and Daus Herrero. If you have not already signed up for that Patreon, make sure you hit that link in the description below. You do not want to miss out. This episode right here, man. You know, it was going to be on a certain individual, but I was like, nah, because people had asked me, like, who are you going to make videos about and who are you not? I'm like, oh, that's easy. People who had bad hearts, right? People who had bad hearts. Having a bad heart, it says enough, right? This person didn't necessarily have a bad heart, just made poor decisions, poor choices, right? Not a bad heart, but my advice would be listen to when your lieutenants tell you something. Might just benefit you. Now, this episode right here, man, it's going to be a serious topic, a serious matter, a serious incident that transpired at Centinela State Prison in the year, let me see, 2010? Between 2009 and between 2011. To be 2010-ish, right? Bravo Yard Level 3 GP. You had buildings Bravo 1 all the way to Bravo 5, 5 being closest, building 5 being closest to the pedestrian gate, right? Think of your regular 270 housing unit yard. You have your yard in the middle, you have your 5 buildings, and up against one side of a wall, that's where you have your sergeant's office, your law library, your clinic where they go get their medical treatment, your chow hall where they eat, and the gym, the gymnasium, right? Which at one point housed numerous inmates on bunk beds. Well, right above the gym area is the yard observation. And a lot of people had been wanting me to do a whole video on being in a gun post, right? This isn't necessarily a video on a gun post. It does have to do with the observation gunner. Up there, it's a big tower, right? You gain access through it to the top. Up there, you have a rifle, lethal, Mini 14, chambered in 223. Another lethal weapon and a less lethal 40 millimeter launcher. Looks like a grenade launcher. Same thing you see in the military on the bottom of an M16. It's a tube, right? Tube that holds the 40 millimeter. Say hello to my little friend, the movie Scarface. Boom. With that, there's 2 types of rounds that we use up there. One is an exact impact round. If you touch it, it's kind of like what you would think a microphone. Not this microphone because it doesn't have that foamy thing to it. But it has like that hard foam, like sponge. But you know, you can push into it. And that's coming out with a projectile. All of the powder that's in there, the propellant that's in there, you want to get technical, whatever it is. And when it hits the primer, poof. It launches that 40 millimeter thingy. It's like freaking, man. If I did have one, right? If I did, it would be somewhere around here. And that'll break bones, right? That'll break bones for sure. The other option that we have up there is it's a multi-baton round, wooden baton. I forgot how many. It's a cylinder tube, and it holds probably like an inch and a half, an inch of wood, Actual wood. G. Blocks. Like, I want to say 3 or 5. I can't remember. It's been a minute, right? Since I've opened one up or even looked at it. So that's a skip round, right? The blocks. With the foam one, it's exact impact. Said as you said, you point at somebody's leg, lower extremities, and you shoot them in the thigh. Bam, right? Big ass Charlie horse. It'll break bones. I've already said this. The wooden baton rounds are not meant for direct hits, right? I laughed because that's not what they're meant for. Okay, you want me to keep it real? Yeah. I'll keep it real. There's times where they don't get skipped. Straight up, they don't get skipped. What do you want me to tell you? Being honest, I'm being real. But I'm gonna just tell you how dangerous this weapon system is. That's what it is, a weapon system. So if there's a riot, I don't know, you got fucking 10 inmates fighting 10 inmates, you got 100 inmates fighting another 100 inmates, you fire a certain length away from the fights, it hits the ground, and those rounds skip up, scatter, right? Scatter rounds, whatever you want to call them, wooden baton. And it hits everybody in the shins, it bounces all over, right? If you're shooting those in a gym, which I have, you got shit bouncing around, fast, high, like ping pong, right? Forrest Gump. Now that you have a layout of the yard, Bravo yard, now that you know the time frame, now that you know what that officer up there was armed with, I can proceed to tell you what went down this day. And it was not necessarily abnormal, because it was the totality of the circumstances for that time period. And I told you guys, man, before they started giving inmates actions to the streets, paroling lifers, they didn't care, man. There was zero fucks given, and you can feel that. You can know that. There was zero fucks given. It was game time. Blue versus green. Actually, Building 5 was the lifer building, meaning that everybody housed in there had life in prison. That was a pretty good run building, because the cops in there were fucking solid and squared away, and the inmates were programming, man. That was their building. It's all good. But prison is still prison. Cops and robbers, cats and mouse, dope. Hey, normal fucking prison stuff, right? 101. So it was either a voluntary inline or a yard recall. Meaning, if every inmate or all the inmates that are out to the yard, they do what's called the voluntary inline. Voluntary inline, right? Your boy has a voice for radio and a face for TV. That's what an old lady told me one time when I worked at the gym in El Centro. That was years ago, right? I'm a bit shot out on the inside now. Well, during these voluntary inlines and or yard recalls, the officers come outside and do random pat downs. As inmates are walking into the officer's building or their building, hey, come here, man, let me pat you down and make sure you ain't got nothing that you're not supposed to be having. Weapons, shanks, drugs, cell phones, tobacco, the whole nine. An inmate was getting patted down in front of Bravo 5. He was a Southsider, a Sureño. He was younger, right? I told you, these guys didn't be caring. It was just the time frame. He was getting patted down. The dude had dope on him, right? The dude, think about it. It's yard recall or inline. They had to been inline or some shit. He's getting patted down. The dude has dope on himself. He knows he has dope on him, right? The officer's doing the thing. The inmate takes off running. Okay, so now if you have an inmate running in a prison yard, it happens. You're not supposed to chase them because they're not going to go nowhere, right? They're not going to go nowhere. There's fucking walls, fences, and gates and razor wire everywhere. But they do be trying to get rid of contraband, right? How they can get rid of it is get a shank, throw it over the wall, right? We see it. Oh, hey, send a watch S&E to the back, go get that shank. To get a weapon, throw it on top of the rooftop. Hey, send somebody up to the roof, put the yard down. Get down, get down. Everybody gets down right now. Welcome to the California prison system. For those that you guys don't be knowing, sometimes it cracks off. That period, it was cracking off a lot. There's also showers, like a mister area, misters, on the yard with toilets, right? I've never seen an inmate take a shit on a yard toilet, which is kind of like, I think they do that out of respect and common decency, but they be pissing out there, right? But there's toilets and there's sinks. It's a mister area, toilets out on the yard. If they got to go number 1 or number 2, I ain't never seen nobody go number 2. So number 1, and a little place to wash your hands. Well, this inmate starts running from Bravo 5, a young Southsider, all the way across the yard. Right, put the yard down. We got an inmate running. Get down, get down, get down, get down. The alarm sounds. Forgot the type of alarm that made. Every prison has a different sounding alarm, right? All I got is the RJD alarm stuck in my head. Fucking hated it, right? It's like a police siren, I think. All the inmates get down, except for this inmate continuously running across the yard. I already described where that gun tower is. That gun tower is in between building 5 and the misters, the showers. This inmate was running to the toilets to go flush the dope that he had. As soon as the dude runs right in front of observation, observation takes a shot with the 40 millimeter. Boom. Boom. Doesn't have much of a kick, right? It's 40 millimeter. Boom. It hits the dude in the temple. Bah! Right around the pull-up area, the pull-up bar area. Right? There's a slab of concrete with your isometric freaking pull-up bars, dip bars. I've talked about this in other videos. A decline sit-up bench. This dude drops and starts convulsing. Right, I'm going to use the medical terminology to be respectful. Starts convulsing on the floor. Dude just got hit with that 40 millimeter. Boom. Now, an inmate running, that's an inmate moving. A moving target is what that is. It's, if you're looking at it from a gunner's perspective, elevated thing, right? We are taught to shoot at the waist or below, right? But if a person is either running in your direction, that is referred to as lag time. There is an actual terminology. That terminology is referred to as lag time, right? I'm telling you guys. So, a report can read something like this. I observed an inmate running. I aimed for his waist due to the lag time. The movement of him, it inadvertently hit him in the head. Whatever. You get the 2 inmates fighting, right? 2 inmates fighting. You're aiming for a dude's leg. One falls down. Boom, you hit him in the head. You didn't intend to hit the dude in the head, right? As a result of lag time. Just giving you guys just the messenger here, right? Just the fucking messenger. The dude is convulsing on the floor. It's serious. It's absolutely serious at this point. Well, it had been serious. The dude's getting patted down. He's running across the yard. That's serious. Because that's volatile. Volatile? If that inmate would have turned around and started fighting the cop, all Southerners would have got in and fought the cop. It's just the rules of the game, right? Politics is just the rules of the game. So, thankfully, the dude didn't turn and fight the cop, because then you would have had 100, 200 dudes stomping out 2 cops right there in front of Bravo 5. This dude ran, gets shot in the head. Boom! Flopping around. Convulsing. I, at the time, was standing in front of TTA, the triage treatment area, the central clinic for the prison. I hear the commotion. I hear, get down, get down, get down. The alarm. They send the little ambulance, the institutional ambulance, to go pick that inmate up. They deliver him to the TTA. And I'm right there, right? I'm like, the body. The dude's alive at this point still. I'm looking, like I was newer, right? Probably like 2 or 3 years in. Yes, that's still new. For those of you guys think you just got off your apprenticeship program and you think you're an OG. Dude gets rushed to the hospital immediately. That inmate ended up in Palm Desert Medical Center, the one. Certain times, certain incidents, certain injuries, inmates will go different places. They can go to UCSD Trauma in San Diego. They'll get flown in a little helicopter or airplane, which I did fly in a little airplane one time. Brawley, PMH, or Desert Regional Medical Center in Palm Desert. That's the one. This inmate was on life support, right? What they did was, I might as well just tell you guys because I'm just telling you guys, right? Because of the swelling of the brain, they cut the skull open. And this is a lot of things that I got exposed to, man. Working in a prison, I seen so many like medical procedures and never would have heard of them or seen of them had I not been employed by the state. They cut a piece of the skull off so that the brain has room to swell and expand. It's wow, man. So the dude's on life support. At the time, you had one officer assigned to the hospital without a weapon. In Palm Desert, no less. We're in Centinela. I can't even tell you how much miles or hours that is. What, an hour and a half, 2 hours? From El Centro to Palm Desert. One officer, one inmate on life support, no weapon. At the time we had the 38 revolver Smith & Wesson. 38 revolvers, 38 special. The family members, of course, got approved visitation because it was not looking good for this inmate. He was on life support, right? He was a vegetable, as they say. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. That's the terminology that people use. The family was upset, clearly. They started yelling at the officers, at the officer, right, who just, hey, man, where am I working today? Desert Regional Medical Center. Okay. Gets in their vehicle, it goes over there, it's sitting there. Now you got the family members yelling at this person like, look what you did to my son. We did not give him to you like that. Look what you guys did. And the officer calls the watch commander, is like, hey, LT, like, you need to send me another officer and a weapon because it's getting heated out here. Like, family members are starting to come. They're highly upset. Like, this inmate's not doing good, and it's dangerous, right? The whole situation is starting to get turned up. Yes, they listen. They send another cop and a weapon. Now, in 2 weeks, they ended up pulling the plug, right? They ended up taking the inmate off of life support. The inmate, had to been 23 years old. I remember it was such a shock because he was a youngster. 23 years old, 24 years old, around that age. And I'm like, fuck, man. Right? The dude died, man, straight from getting hit with the 40 millimeter after he had dope. And we know he had dope because the dope was on his possession, on him when they got him. They just got a search and everything. Whether it was heroin, whatever it was, right? The moral of the story, man, is like consequences, right? And I know, like, the behavior, like, you got to understand what I'm trying to say here. That whole situation at that time, 2010, was turned up, right? It was like, oh yeah, the inmates, like the Southerners, like they had put a green light, right? They had put a green light on staff. Like it was one of those things where like, hey, you fucking killed one of our guys. Now we're going to take out 3 of your guys. It's kind of the way it was. And I remember too, like, knowing what time it was, like, okay, and Bravo Yard was notorious for staff assaults. Bravo 1 and Bravo 2 were notorious for staff assaults. And that's a level 3 GP. Boy, serious staff assaults too, man. I mean, medically retiring dudes out, Green, breaking Duke Green's neck, right? My old partner from Charlie Gym. Dude got titanium screws in his neck. So, you know, the officer up in the observation post, I think he did take some time off, right? Because, like, none of this was like, ain't nobody coming to work thinking today I want to shoot a 40 millimeter, hit somebody in the head and kill them, right? Today I want somebody to start running from this housing unit to there, and I hope I have to do this. Is there twisted people out there, like a fucking what? That type, like a fucking 0.5% maybe, right? Or maybe if you're a young officer and you're eager to pull the trigger on a 40 millimeter. I want you to know the seriousness and the consequences of that fucking round. It's a less lethal round. Less lethal. It's told you just killed a dude, a youngster, right? It's just such a hard message to give. It's like, be aware of your surroundings, right? You know what? That was just fucking unfortunate all the way around, man. All the way around. And I remember a lot of people feeling that shit. Like, you know, we're not blaming anybody, right? The blame doesn't go to one person or anything like that. It's just a story that I'm telling you guys, man. Take from that, right, what you can. Keep pushing forward.